What's up, everyone? Big news today in the Counter-Strike scene. So after the 2025 Budapest Major and Spirit losing to Vitality 2-0 in the semifinals, Spirit has decided to drop Chopper and Zweih and pick back up Magixx and Zontix. And I don't really think this comes to a surprise to anybody. Um, Obviously, Zweih didn't do as much as he, maybe was asked of in the team. Um, I mean, they won Cologne, but I don't think that, especially his major performance, except for the one game against Falcons on that Dust 2, I don't think he has. I don't think he has showed his full potential and shown or at least done the things that the team asked for him to do. I don't want to, you know, discredit the guy or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure he's a great player. What he did on Namiga was really good. But I don't think he fit this team very well. It also has been known that he was struggling with motivation and just I think just being shy, which I mean going from a team like Namiga and then going to Team Spirit and basically not being the same player that you were on your team because it kind of was like his team. He was one of the players that the team revolved around. I think that can also get into a person's head and then I mean being on one of the biggest teams in Counter-Strike right now, I don't think that it also helps with him not playing up to his potential and just getting a looking on Twitter and looking on Telegram, looking at all of his comments and just seeing everyone saying that he's bad and saying that he shouldn't be on the team. And yeah, I don't think that helps anybody, but also he didn't have great performances either. And then Chopper, I mean, I also think his time was pretty close to being done on Spirit as well. I mean, a lot of their games seemed really stale up until the Falcons game, and I don't think that he could have directed this team any better than what he already did. And after, winning the Shanghai Major last year, about a year ago from now, it seemed really stale. They had some good performances here and there, but other than that, I mean, and yes, they won Cologne, but other than that, nothing too surprising at all, to be honest. Nothing too like compelling to be like, yeah, like Chopper needs to be on this team. And also one thing, I've watched a couple of videos um on people talking about this roster and, talking about Chopper as well, like I have. But one thing I don't think I've seen people talk about is the amount of util that he misses or that he just doesn't do right or doesn't have the right timing with. I'm no Counter Strike aficionado, right? I don't know the game as well as other people, but just especially on Dust 2, the amount of missed mid smokes to to CT to get on the box to mid to B split basically. The amount of times that he's missed that smoke and just basically lost the round because of that is honestly ridiculous, especially for a Counter Strike pro, a major winner, and someone on what's supposed to be one of the best teams in the game right now. Just missing those smokes over and over again, and missing most, like not most, but missing some vital util in important rounds and important swing rounds. I don't think that's acceptable, and I don't think that that warrants you to keep being on this team, especially if you're the IGL, making these calls and making these plays, and then just missing the setups and missing the util. I think that's just way too just. I don't think that type of behavior also belongs in a team like Team Spirit. But enough on those two. I hope they find a great place. I mean, someone's been talking about it. Where was it? Right here, Chopper to Bet Boom. I hope Chopper finds a good home. I hope Zweih finds a good home. Maybe he goes back to Namiga. Who knows? But I hope they find a good home, and I hope they continue their careers and become better players. But on to Magixx and Zontix. Magixx will be the IGL of this team, which I'm excited for because I think he can do a good job at this, but it's also going to be really hard because he's never been, an actual IGL. He said in his streams a lot that he wants to be an IGL and that he wants to try it out and he wants to do good in it. And I don't think there's a problem with that. It's probably going to be a lot more difficult to do that on a caliber of Team Spirit, who is going to be going up against, the top 10 teams in the world. And if you don't, call a good timing on a player, if you don't, call a good strat or call a good anti strat or whatever, you're going to get chewed out and you're going to get faced with a lot of just backlash as well. And just teams are going to roll over you. So I'm eager to see what happens there. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people say, especially since I have seen that Shiro has really, really stepped up in the comms in and out of the server and really giving his ideas and, just trying to help make plays in and out of the server again. I know a little bit of Russian, so whenever there's like talking and you can kind of hear it through the player cams, I can understand a little bit, and I always hear Shiro really trying to, help get plays moving forward and help, create different strats and maybe say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this and maybe we should go here, maybe we should fake this play and just stuff like that. And so, and also, Donk is very, I don't know if he's always been like this, but he has been more vocal recently and been trying to help Chopper out with, you know, getting the play set up and getting the plays moving forward, especially since you're the entry fragger. You're gonna see a lot of what's happening on a specific bomb site. You're gonna be a UAV basically, and I think with the lurker of Tanir, hopefully that goes better with this different structure that happens, and hopefully they can activate Tanir more because he's a great player. He's a very good player, but he in this previous roster with Chopper and Zweih, he wasn't activated much, and also I feel like that's because of the stale calling and the stale playmaking in as Chopper as IGL. So hopefully they can do something better with that, but I really hope Magixx does really well on this team. Back on this team as IGL. And with Zontix, I mean, I think Hallie said something about, and I think we'll look at the tweet in a little bit. He said something about Zontix being in his old roles. I feel like he's gonna probably turn more into a support player, which, I mean, I've recently been watching some of Zontix Face It demos, and that guy does not miss util. That guy does not miss util on CT or T side on any map. He does not miss util, and I think that's something that that a team like this needs, because before it was mainly Magixx setting up Donk and baiting for Donk and putting the flashes and smokes, and I feel like Magixx has a lot better, maybe a lot better, but he has better firepower than Chopper, so he can also go on his own island and manipulate the ways and however manipulate the plays and however he wants to, and try and help dictate the rounds in the game. And with Zontix supporting Donk more and doing that really good util and setting Donk up for his individual plays, I think it'll be really good for this team. And I really hope this team works out. Zontix is really good. I missed having him in the game and in the server. And also Magixx as well, right? Like, these two are a staple of Team Spirit. And I hope this team goes well. I hope Magixx can show that he can be a good IGL with Hallie's help. I mean, Hallie's a great coach. I just I wonder I just wonder how the learning curve is going to be, especially for Magixx being the IGL and kind of having to play by Hallie's playbook and then being able to be confident enough to alter that playbook in specific ways for whatever the round or whatever the game needs, you know? But that's definitely something that's going to be interesting to watch throughout this whole first season, and then, potentially going into next season if this does work out. But yeah, that's just one thing that I'm really wondering about with Magixx is just the learning curve and being able to implement and be implemented into Hallie's playbook in different ways, and just to be able to play around it as well. That's really what I'm looking forward to seeing. And then so going to Hallie's tweet, I'm not gonna read all of this. I'm not a great reader. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to Osni as well. Great Twitter guy. If you want to follow him for all the CS news, go follow him on Twitter. But basically, it starts off with, I've decided to give a brief comment on the changes in our roster that we made at the end of the current season. Let's start with background. And he just talks about we failed at the first half of 2025, didn't go well for us, obviously. We all saw that. Failed to win any elite tournaments. Lost streaks against Vitality and Mouse, and those two definitely did have their numbers for a while, and Vitality still does. Mouse and Spear, I think, in my opinion, are probably one of the best matchups we had last season because it was always back and forth. It was either always back and forth or one team won 3 times or 2 times in a row, and the other one just did the exact same thing. So that was really fun to watch, and we'll see how it goes from there with this new roster and potentially Mouse making a new roster too. I might make a video on that later or whenever that happens, obviously. Then he goes on to say, I direct competitors in the title race, which is crazy because Mouse was seen as a title contender. That looking at that now is just really funny. Put in a lot of effort to improve the situation through training and changes in our gameplay, but even by the end of the season, the progress was minimal. By May, it became clear that several of our players were starting to face mental and physical issues, which only worsened our situation, which I don't think we know the whole reason why Magixx is off the team. Maybe he just got benched. Maybe it was something internal that nobody talked about, but I think Zontix was pretty open about his struggles. I don't remember if it was physical or mental or both, but he did openly state that he was struggling. So, I mean, you can't do anything about that. If a player wants to stop because he is struggling and he needs a break, you can't do anything about that. Under these circumstances, we decided to prepare for changes in the roster. The situation was challenging. There weren't many ideal candidates on the market who could strengthen our problematic position. In the end, we came up with a difficult plan. We decided to take on 2 strong prospects, Tanir and Zweih, who had performed well over the past season, to give our current players a chance to recover, then try to assemble the most competitive roster possible by the end of the year. The result of this plan can be seen in the announcement we released today. And I think one thing that's interesting and also very true is that when he says there weren't many ideal candidates on the market, and I mean, when you look at the current state of Counter-Strike, I mean, it's kind of off topic, right? But with Dexter, it's like, where is he gonna go? He's been on standby for so long, unfortunately. After he won, I forget what trophy that was or what tournament that was. I can't remember what tournament that was that he won with the Falcons and then got benched after that because Mondesi came in. But it's like, what's a good team that he's going to go to? All these teams are really strong right now and are trying to build core foundations in their rosters and then form around that as well. And especially with only Russian speaking teams, I mean, there aren't many that you can go to and see one guy and be like, yeah, this is the guy we want, pluck him out. Like a lot of these teams are really fighting in their own way in their own tournaments and for VRS points that it's like maybe they don't want to get rid of them because they're trying to build this foundation and this core for VRS points. And it's just like it's just so hard as well just to be able to build a good team right now because again, all these teams are trying to contend for big tournaments or big tournaments in their own way. So it was really difficult, but I do think they tried with Zweih and Tanier, and I don't discredit them at all for any of that. He goes on to say, in particular, mentioned that replacing Vanya, which is Zweih, was really difficult for us. Great talent in him, excellent teammate. Great opportunity for more than 5 players would have kept him. Clear to me that he gravitates towards other game roles and needs to strengthen himself in all aspects to compete at the highest level on equal footing. Sincerely wish him the best career possible. He's young, talented, and intelligent. And he has everything to achieve great things. I'm sure we'll see each other on the server again. And kind of going back to what I said earlier in the video of gravitates toward other game roles, and especially with a young player like Zweih who hasn't had all of the experience in the world and isn't extremely proficient in one role. It's really hard to keep that role when you go to another team because any top tier team that would have picked him up would have altered him in some sort of way, very large or minimal. And I think with someone like him who, you know, thrives in confidence and in motivation, and I think that's a very young thing, is that he can't, not that he can't, but it's hard for him, and it's shown, it's hard for him to deal with the pressure of being on such a big team and such big tournaments with the crowd. And I think after his really good map against Falcons, he even said, yeah, like before Hallie came to talk to me and he said, don't think about any of this, just play your game, you know what you need to do. And probably a bunch of other amazing things because, you know, Hallie's a great coach who has very good speeches. Um, I think it's hard for him, like again, like I said earlier in the video, because he's a young kid who isn't, you know, specified in this one role, and he's like elite in this one role. So going to a completely different one is new to him, and that can lower your self esteem and lower your confidence. Um, I think Hallie and Zweih had a really good connection and a really good relationship off the server, and I feel like you could see it in the vlogs that Team Spirit do. Hallie seemed to always be by Zweih's side at all times, and maybe that was just a comforting thing to make him feel more integrated into the team, I suppose. But I mean, I don't think any of it really. Not that it didn't matter, but it didn't do anything. You know, like I feel like just he had his first couple games, you know, then they won Cologne, and he didn't have the best showing at Cologne. He even said it. He was like, "I sucked. My team carried me," basically saying that. I don't know if it was verbatim, but I think he just had low self esteem coming into it, and that really sucks. It really does, because I mean, he does seem like a great player. On Namiga, he did really well. That's why they picked him up, like he said. But I really hope that he finds a good team, and he finds a team that can fit him, or a team that he can fit, whichever he decides to go with. And I mean, yeah. And then going on to the little segment for Chopper, which is loan. I don't know how if that's how you say it, but basically says, I've already said a lot to Lone personally. Want to address him here as well. Over the years, he became my closest comrade. Our work together has given me a lot of emotions, and I'm sincerely grateful to him for all the time we spent together. I wish him happiness and to achieve what he wants. And another thing, I also saw a couple people talking about how it's really small for Chopper and a lot more for Zweih. I think that's just because these, like he said, closest comrade. Like, dude, like these guys know each other. These guys are bros, right? These guys are bros. So I don't think it's that big of a deal for having this small of a second just on a tweet. Like it's Twitter, bro. Like you're just gonna be like boom 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 boom. This is probably Max characters too. So it's like, like he already said a bunch of stuff to him. Chopper knows. Like Chopper probably knows why this happened and what's happening. So I don't think it's that bad. I don't think there's anything to dig deeper into. Then he talks about Miroslav, which is Zontix, and Boria, which I thought it was Boris, but maybe that's just a translation from Russian on Telegram. Zontix and Magixx are old acquaintances. Everyone knows what they're capable of, and the trophies we've won together speak for themselves. Magixx will have to master a new role as captain, but I'm sure all the qualities to become one of the best in the roles. Miroslav, in turn, will rest and return for his role with renewed energy. And I think, yeah, Hallie says it best here. He thinks Magixx can be a really good captain and a really good IGL, and I think especially if it was another team, it would if he didn't go to Spirit, I think it would have to be a lower tier team because of the connections that he doesn't have and people that would need to listen to him. And everyone on this team except for Tenier has played with this guy for forever. Like I'm pretty sure Donk loves having these two back on the team, and maybe Donk was also a part of the talks about this team and being like, yo, like I'm staying on this team and we're doing this. We're getting these two. This is what's happening. And maybe Hallie was like, hey, man, we'll do whatever you want now because of what happened last year and what happened at the major against Vitality as well. So, I mean, maybe Donk had a little bit of pull in that. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Maybe it'll come out later. But yeah, I mean, Hallie says it right here. Basically speaks for itself. Boris is going to be in the new position. He has all the qualities to be one of the best in the role. And I think, like I was saying, Team Spirit is probably the best for him because he has that chemistry with everybody. And I mean, Tenier seems like a really good guy and seems like someone who can just adapt and just be the good voice on the team, And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure this team will have really good chemistry, and that helps a lot. I think that's going to help a lot, and they're going to be able to listen to him. They know who Magixx is, and they're just going to be able to hear what he says and execute it. And if it doesn't work, they can probably all talk about it together. I'm pretty sure Shiro and Zontix and Magixx and Donk just have a great chemistry together. And with Tenier being a very funny, laughable, silly guy, it's just going to be, I think it's going to be great chemistry. And I think these guys are going to have a good time together, which I think is also something that's going to be really important. And then he just ends with, we believe the current roster has great potential. Our future results will depend on only ourselves. Believe in us and cheer for Team Spirit. So that's what Hallie has to say. I mean, yeah, I think this is really good. I have really high hopes for the team. I really hope this team does well in the upcoming tournaments for this first season. And I can't wait to see how Magixx grows as well and just see where this team gets directed to. So, yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to watch more of me. I got a couple videos out right now. I'm hoping to make more videos soon, depending on, obviously what news comes out about roster changes and everything like that. But if you want to support me in other ways, go follow me on Twitch, Snaf FPS, SNAF FPS. I'm live. I try and be live almost every day, usually at nighttime. But we all have lives. So yeah, thank you for watching the video and have a great day or night.